Welcome to the Course Creators Podcast with course design expert Jenny Rice. Whether you're an experienced creator or just starting out, this podcast helps build courses that resonate, transform, and make an impact. Each episode, we'll explore strategies and tips to help you create engaging, successful courses. Let's dive in.
Hi, this is Jenny Rice from Course Creators Podcast. I'm so very excited about our guest today. We've got Ed McManus, author and course creator on relationship leadership. So welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so glad to have you. So tell me a bit about your background and yourself.
My background, let's see. I grew up in a small Western Kentucky town called Paducah. Maybe never heard of it. It's right on the river. There's actually two rivers that come together at the foot of Broadway. Surrounded by four rivers, actually. So anyway, get pretty humid times during the summer, but that's where I grew up and played high school sports there, mostly football. Went to college and joined the police department, Paducah Police Department in 1988. Spent 20 years there and left in an administrative position as a captain. And I don't know, learned a lot, did a lot of studying, a tremendous amount of leadership training. And that's what I always like to read myself on my time. And so, all that culminated and I moved from there to the Gulf Coast in Lower Alabama. I live in Foley, just about 8 miles from the Gulf. And when I moved here, I decided to write a book on leadership, something that I felt I had a tremendous amount of experience in and knowledge. Right, wrong, or indifferent, at least it's my take on it. And so I did that. It had been a goal of mine to write a book. So when I wrote the book, before I did some research and decided that I would write the book as a segue, as a lot of people do, into establishing credibility, so I could create a course and start a business and go down that road. So that's kind of where I am now, and that's landed me on your camera.
What a rich background and life experience and input that could lead to, about relationship leadership. So tell me a bit about the courses that you offer and the transformation your learners receive.
Yeah, the course, kind of everything's, one thing I've learned, things have kind of morphed. I'm not where I started, when I had the vision, things have taken different turns and, you adapt to those. So I now have two courses instead of one, but it's the same course. If that makes sense, I'll explain it. But yeah, I have an intermediate and advanced course. When I first started, it was just the full blown, all of the information in one course. And I discovered through talking with various people that had taken the course and had been through the classroom session that, an intermediate or, a course with not as much information for those that don't want to make the investment of time for the full course. And it's quite a bit of time. It's not a 45-minute one and, you're done. No, it's not. So I offer an intermediate and advanced. And at the beginning of the course, you get a course notebook to download before you start. We get a certificate at the end. You can't get the certificate until you get through the course. So in recognizing that I may be dealing with government agencies and businesses that have compliance standards, the scroll bar is removed. So you have to watch. And at the end of the course, at the end of each video, there's a test, 5 to 7 questions, not designed to fail you at all. It's designed to teach, so you can retake until you get it right. And then you go on to the next one. So you do that throughout the course and you receive a certificate at the end. So we cover all the bases, all the check marks, if you will, in trying to make it compliance worthy for those agencies that require that for their training. Beyond that, it's, the whole model. I took a total different approach. I spent a lot of time researching and figuring out where I can kind of carve my place. We all need to find our niche or niche, however you want to pronounce that. I'm from Kentucky and live in Lower Alabama, so it's niche.
Yeah.
But so, where is that? And, my approach to leadership is unlike most anything out there. And it's a visual language. And you want to be able to, I want the student and or book reader to be able to see what I'm talking about as they read it. So, I feel like I accomplished that. So to take that one step further, when I got into the course creation, what I did was I had the audio book professionally recorded and took that So the course is the audiobook. So once you go through the advanced course, the full course, then you will have listened to the audiobook in its entirety. The intermediate's about half. So I took that and, okay, well, how do I animate this? How do I get my message out? If I'm using the audiobook as a platform to deliver the message, then obviously I'm not stepping in every time and trying to teach each lesson, because the audiobook does that for me. It's the way I wrote it. It's scenario based. So what I did was I evaluated a lot of different options for bringing that audiobook to life. And what I came up with, I use Doodly. And
Mm-hmm.
so every chapter is automated, or I'm sorry, animated with
Animated,
Doodle.
yeah.
And for every about 1 minute of animation you see, took about 30 minutes to create, because I had to find the image. And sometimes it was inside Doodly. Sometimes I had to download my own images, or upload rather. Then I had to time it. As you work through the course, you'll see I get better at timing it. But I had to try to time the principle and the concept that I'm trying to deliver with the images that you're seeing appear on the screen. So in the classroom version of the course, I do the same, except rather than the test questions, we go into discussion, and you still receive a certificate after I've delivered the classroom session, both intermediate, half a day, and advanced full day. So it's pretty involved. I had the idea, had the concept, and I started down that road. And like I said, it's evolved. It's evolved on a slightly different path than where I started, but that's fine. That's how it works. You have a vision. You have to
Right.
be you have to be flexible and see where the road takes you, and be willing to go down that road.
Yeah. So then your learners, I love the idea it's scenario based, it's visually based. So people aren't just reading text on the screen, they're watching and learning as they go. And so the scenarios are all about leadership and relationship leadership. So tell me more about what they get at the end of it and how can it improve their relationships and leadership.
Well, relationship leadership defined, the definition I came up with, is the development and use of relationships in the leadership role. So at the end of the course, both intermediate and advanced, you will have some a semblance, a fairly good focus on how to do that, because it's scenario based. Now, it's what I call example driven training.
Mm-hmm.
It's not heady, it's not academic, it's visual, as I said earlier. Everyone understands pictures. The three basic styles of learning: audio, visual, kinetic. But everyone understands visual, and the visual learner is increased tremendously with the younger generations, and grew up playing video games and things like that. So we build an identity there, a link there where they can see it. But it's scenario based. Each chapter we go into, the approach I take is again much different than most other people that teach leadership. Is each chapter we learn the wrong way first. The crux of it is there's two characters, main characters, Tony and Chad.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony's the character that everyone loves working with, and Chad is the one that no one likes to work with.
Mm-hmm.
He's a jerk.
We've all met those.
Right. And it's scenario based, and Chad and Tony, or Tony and Chad, have equal authority. They're not in competition. They each have their own team. And each scenario takes place inside the woo-woo factory, is what I named it. And it's non-industry specific. It works for emergency service. I get a lot of training in the first responder field, as well as I've done some Fortune 500 work. So it's not industry specific. So each chapter starts out with Chad totally wrecking it. So you learn in
How
my
not to do it.
concept, you learn the wrong way also.
Right.
I teach both sides. And I think anytime you're pursuing knowledge about anything, and especially I think from an instructor standpoint, both sides need to be looked at. And a lot of times that's not. So I take that approach that we look at both sides. So each chapter starts with Chad just totally wrecking it. And it's kind of, I tell people, I kind of liken it to, if you were to take a martial arts class, that's real popular now, and you need to learn how to put someone in a chokehold, but you don't want to kill them or severely injure them. Well, what's the first thing that you're taught? Or martial arts, self-defense course, whatever you want to call it. The first thing they teach you is how to kill them. If you apply the chokehold this way, you're going to severely injure or kill this person. If that's not your aim, you're just trying to take control or to get away, then you need to first understand the most severe action possible. This is the same way. Each chapter starts with Chad improperly applying the chokehold, if you will.
Right.
So we learn that first, and then Tony, does it the opposite. So you'll have a clear understanding at the end of the course in my opinion, and that's the way it's designed. Okay, how do I best navigate this issue, this leadership concern or task, to where I'm able to effectively use relationships to get this done? And that's pretty much the nexus or the crux of the whole course. It's
Yeah,
development relationships in a leadership role.
that's great. I love how you've talked about the way not to do it first, so people are aware of that, so they're much more open when they hear about the right way to do that, so they can learn that themselves. And using those two characters to exhibit that in a like you said, an example based environment, which is really great. And I was much more effectively using that mode in that perspective, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like worst case scenario first, rather than okay, this is what I want to do. What's my
Yeah.
worst case scenario? Well, let's figure out the worst case scenario first, and then figure out what the best option is. It's kind of like, and this is in the book. A friend of mine's a physician, and I asked him one time, and I put what I'm going to tell you actually in the book in the beginning of the course. I think it's in the preface or the introduction. I said, so when a patient comes in, you think something's wrong with them. So you figure out what you think is wrong with them, and you run tests to prove that you're right. He said, no, I don't. I said, what do you mean? He said, I run tests to prove myself wrong.
Mhm.
What do you mean? He said, well, I can prove a lot of things right. He said, but the thing I cannot prove wrong is the right answer.
Yeah, good one. That's a good
Same approach
analogy.
with my leader. Yeah, same
Yeah,
approach with my leadership teachings. Let's
that's
prove it
great.
wrong.
Yeah,
You can't prove it wrong, then we're on the right path.
right. And good example driven. So tell me about one of the challenges you faced while creating the course, and how did you overcome it?
Challenge for me, again, when I sat down and wrote the book, well, there are many challenges. Is when I wrote the book was to do the course, like I said. So then what's that course going to look like? How did I create that? The challenge was evaluating the different platforms that would sync with the ideas I had in my head on how I wanted to deliver the product. So there's a little bit of a challenge there in evaluating different platforms of delivery. I chose Thinkific. There are several great ones out there. That's just the one I landed on that seemed to fit best with me. And the testing and removing the compliance driven things that I talked about. Excuse me. So that was a big challenge in and of itself. And then the content, how to sync it, things we discussed earlier. And beyond that, okay, once we have this done, then where am I headed with it? Where am I going with it? And for me to, like I said, 1 minute of video you say takes about 30 minutes to
Hmm.
create. That took a tremendous amount of discipline daily.
Hmm.
And I mean, I did that some days, so I was blue in the face. I'm tired of looking at it. It took almost 6 months. And that's a challenge. That's a discipline. That's a focus. And if,
Hmm.
it's so that was a challenge. I made up my mind, no, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm going to do. And then when I got into it, I was like, whoa, this is a commitment.
Hmm.
So I think anyone that creates a course of any length or substance, you're going to have some focus and discipline and commitment to get you there. And understanding it's just going to take a lot of work, and things are going to change. You're probably not going to end where you started, but you need to know where you're headed and get started and see where it takes you.
Yeah,
Uh, I didn't plan on having two courses. I only planned on one. I didn't initially plan on doing classroom instruction. Now I do. So, that's all changed. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me is finding the discipline, which I'm a pretty disciplined person, but knowing where I want to go, and I just have to make it happen.
right,
And I settled on this is the platform, this is the style, this is how I want to do it. Now I'm scratching my head. Okay, how do I pull all this together?
right. So, and you took it on yourself to learn that skill and then apply, like you said, the ratio of 30 minutes to 1 minute. So if you extrapolate that into your duration of your course, that is a big time commitment. And you decide to do that yourself and commit through it, which is a really wonderful thing, because you're right. It takes work and effort, creativity and adaptability. I love how you said I had to move with the things that were changing with information that came to me. I wanted to do one course, end up doing two courses, because you adapted as you went through, right?
Exactly. And same way when I wrote the book, I'm self-published. So, I'd never written a book before. I had to learn everything from formatting to templates and all of that stuff and had to get it through editing. And so I guess that drive and focus and that discipline when I got to the course was ingrained in me to get to the
Hmm.
finish. But I still didn't know what that picture was until I started. And then once I started, it's like, oh, wow, this is a commitment, but this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So we persevere. So I would tell anyone that's creating a course, once you get everything in line and ready to go, don't quit, soldier on, you'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does take commitment and tenacity too, because it took you 6 months to do it, which is great. So great insights we've had here. I've learned a lot, and on looking at the whole picture, but yet going through the steps as you get there too. So been very insightful. So thank you. So as we end this podcast, what final tips do you have for our listeners about course creation?
Uh, Several, I guess. I made a little list here. Number one, some of this we've kind of touched on is, have a vision. Exactly what are you going to provide, and are you wanting to do online only? Are you one course? Are you wanting to do a series of courses? Are you wanting to do also classroom instruction, maybe connected to the online or physical classroom or virtual classroom? These are all things that, have to be figured out. And again, for me, it kind of evolved into the classroom that it's not initially where I started. But that's okay. That's where I am. And I'm okay with that. And, you need to know your target audience.
Mhm.
You can create courses all day long, just like I could write 10 books. But if I don't have an audience to buy them, all I'm doing is spending my time writing books and create courses all day long. But if you don't have a target or an audience, then you're just really wasting your time. So you need to know your target and have a plan of how to reach them. And therein lies another layer to this. Once we identify that, okay, this is our target, how do we get the word to the target? And is this a course that an individual is going to purchase, or is this a course that I can sell to businesses or government agencies? My course, I started out wanting to sell to individuals, but I rarely sell to one person. It's usually an agency, a government agency, or a corporation or business. So, I had that in the back of my mind when I started, but initially, my concept was, okay, I'm pursuing the individual. But as I went down that road, again, we have to be fluid. Things change. So I really don't sell a lot to individuals. But then again, mine's several hours and very complex. And then again, I think we discussed this: evaluate more than one platform, find the
Mhm.
one that fits, and then therein lies budgeting. What's it going to cost me? Um, what dollars do I have to make it work? So, sometimes that evaluation can be tough. What dollars I have to make it work versus what's available. You can spend yourself into the poorhouse, but if you take your time and do some in-depth evaluation, you can usually get a pretty fair prices on a lot of very good platforms out there. And again, something else we discussed, position your course to be fluid, single student, multiple students in the classroom, virtual and physically. It's really just be open that things are going to shift and morph as you work through this, and be accepting of that and understand, okay, this creation, this is where this is taking me.
Mhm.
Be open to everything, listen to what other people have to say, but never lose focus of your values and your vision, because it's your vision, it's your course, it's up to you to create and succeed with. So therefore, stay focused on that. Take other people's input, but filter and evaluate it. Just because someone says this is where you should be may not necessarily be where you should be. That's for you to
Right.
ultimately decide, the creator.
Yeah.
And then, depending on what you do with your course, position yourself to maximize the opportunity. For example, my course is set up with the platform that I use. I can white label it. If someone is heavy in the training arena and has a lot of HR contacts, a lot of business contacts, but maybe they're not real steeped in leadership or course creation, but want to be in a position to provide that, then I can white label my course. The content never changes. It's my content, but we can brand with their logo. and then work out some kind of compensation partnership. And that's maximizing an opportunity. And, classroom spinoffs, as I've mentioned 2 or 3 times, that's another maximization of the opportunity. So, you need to, I would tell any creator, spend some time evaluating that. Do you want to be the sole provider, or do you feel that your course is strong enough that you have the ability to bring on partners that have a reach? I mean, there's however many billions of people in this world, and online learning's like almost $1 billion a day industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't reach all those people. If someone has a deeper reach than me in a specific industry, then absolutely I would partner with them. Still my product, still my book.
Yeah.
So that's a unique position that, I don't know everyone sets out to create a course. What's your vision? What's your long-term? Where can we expand? Are you setting yourself up for success in that other people can help you succeed and you can help them? You have the product, they have the connections or knowledge of how to make it happen. And it's a great partnership if you can find it. You both are rewarded. So that's it. Just don't be narrow in your focus, as broad as you can.
That's
narrow
great.
in your vision of what you want to do and where you want to be. But the focus of how to get there, that's going to be blurry from time to time. And that's okay.
Yeah. I love that you've sort of brought in 2 components of that. You need to plan, look at your vision, what your goals are, where do you want to go, but you need to adapt. I'm a big sailor, so I use a lot of sailor analogies. And when you're sailing on a close reach or a close haul, in that you're moving towards the wind a little bit, but you always have to adapt based on the current, based on the wind. You're still going to the direction, but you need to go with it and change things as you go. So it's finding that information as it comes in, maybe finding a partner, joint venture or something like that, being open to new things happening, but still have your plan to stay on course, right?
Right. You have to do whatever keeps wind in the sails.
Yeah, exactly. Love it.
And your any of your listeners that want to see what this looks like, if they'll go to my website, I have free sections of the course, not the whole thing, of course, that they're welcome to see the doodly and it downloads, and I don't try to reach out. It's not my thing. It's not the rabbit I'm chasing, but I'll offer it for people who want to evaluate it. Or if any of your listeners want to go see that, go to relationshipleadership.net and click on the online course, and they'll scroll down and be able to get, I think it's the first like 5 or 6 chapters and 4 or 5, and they'll be able to see the testing. Again, that's free. That's just my gift. Anyone that wants to make the effort, but anyone that wants to see what we're talking about, you'll see it at no cost.
That's great.
I'm not going to beat you to death trying to get your business. No, I'm here to help.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a leadership teacher first and the course creator second. It's the way I look at it. So anyone that I can help succeed, absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And we'll definitely put a link in so people can click on it and get right to it, which is a great opportunity and a great offer that you've got. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Well, Ed, it's really been insightful having you on here. I love how your commitment shows what you've done and what you're offering now, and the results that people are getting too. The impact it's having is quite significant. So it's really exciting. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
No, I appreciate you having me. Absolutely. Anytime I can help, I'm glad to do that.
Yeah, that's great. So this is Jenny Rice with Course Created Podcast with Ed McManus, author and course creator for relationship leadership. So it's been great, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Course Creators Podcast. For more insights and to connect with a community of creators, join our Course Creator channel on The Great Discovery. We offer both free and premium memberships. Check the link below. Until next time, keep creating, inspiring, and transforming lives.